But the mental tension's gone, isn't it?
Yeah, now you're just hoping now, you're protecting that lead almost and hoping that your legs don't give way. So, looks great.
So Willie Koitala is certainly doing the job. He's been out in front for a substantial period now and just really broke the hearts heading up the hill. Beautiful circular quay, and you can see the Sydney Opera House there. That is where we're making our way to. Circular quay, though, busy transport hub since the early days of the colonies, a part of the iconic area that includes the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House as well. And Sydney Cove, the current site of Circular Quay, was the site of the initial landing of the First Fleet in Port Jackson on the 26th of January back in 1788. It was originally known as Semicircular Quay. Then they just dropped the semi and went with Circular Quay. Crowd starting to gather as we get closer to the finish line. And maybe a couple of people that have just woken up on a Sunday morning and thought, I'll just pop on down there and give some rousing support to our internationals.
Isn't it that great Australian comment? Good on you, mate. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
He'll be appreciating the fact that he's getting closer and closer, inching closer towards the Sydney Opera House and the finish line. Still looking very strong, though.
On his toes, always. Yeah. Face expressions give a little bit away, but it's the feet plant and your leg lift, certainly. And he's still on his toes and got good knee lift, so strong and looking fine.
Willie Koitala making that winning move up the hill, and it was inside the last 8-9 kilometres, and the other runners haven't been able to hold on at this stage. It was a lead group that included Courier, also included Ben Kanoush and Lucky Mahali in there as well, the South African runner. The Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House, a wonderful, sunny, beautiful Sunday morning here in Sydney, and it's going to be even sweeter for Willie Koitala as he gets inside the last couple of kilometres. You can see the Harbour Bridge. He'll go back round underneath, round to the right-hand side, and then come along the promenade to the Sydney Opera House.
He'll almost see the finish. He'll know now. Once he gets under the Sydney Harbour Bridge, he comes around and he knows he can see Circular Quay, and he will be able to see the Opera House. And whilst he's not having the direct run, he can't quite walk on water or run on water, it's not far. He will know exactly where he is. So a very significant psychological moment for him.
His personal best time is 2:08.32, so he won't be getting inside that, but it's still going to be a fairly handy time.
I don't think, as Mona said, when you're in a race like this, it doesn't matter about the time. It's a matter about winning. You know, that's what he wants. He's a winner, as you said before. He's won one major marathon before this. Now he's got two under his belt, and that's a significant thing when you're going. You know, when you're putting yourself forward for other marathons internationally, you can say that you're a winner in two events. You know, you're a significant marathon runner, and that becomes appealing to other marathon race promoters, I suppose, around the world.
Yeah, and on two different continents, one in Asia, one in here in Australia. So, yeah, that shows he travels well. So that's certainly good for his future prospects.
And when you look at it, is the end game for him, is that going to be Rio? Is that where the end game, hopeful representation?
Well,
or is it
when you're in the Kenyan team, I mean, you can't predict anything, I'm afraid. You know, I mean, it's such a strong nation, and so he's a good runner, but is he one of the best? Perhaps not. You know, we have to be honest.
We read that statistic. The qualifying time for London, the men's marathon, was 2:14.50, which is about he'll run a little bit quicker than that. There were 278 Kenyans who had ran that or something.
It is phenomenal. And while the Jamaicans have all the sprinters, it's the Kenyans that have all the distance runners.
And the Ethiopians and Eritreans. There's a bit of a spread. Ugandans. We're getting a bit of a mix of other African nations having an impact as well.
He's inside the closing couple of kilometres. He's travelled for over 2 hours now, has Willie Koitala, the 27-year-old from Kenya, and he's making his way around the promenade. So he'll see where he needs to finish. He's only just over here to the right-hand side of our commentary box, and we'll be able to watch and hear the cheers as he makes his way around. As runners continue to finish in the half marathon, they're going to have to make way for the man who has run the full 42 kilometres and will be first across the line, Willie Koitala.
Does he look left and see that Opera House and say, gee, I wish I was there right now? It says, oh, not far. Hang in there. I'm close, a couple of minutes away.
He will be looking across, and he can't quite walk on water. You can see the ferries working hard, but Willie Koitala is the man that will be $10,000 richer as a part of the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival, and congratulations to him. He will add the Sydney title to his Shanghai title back in 2011. Willie Koitala, the 27-year-old from Kenya. He did it well. He sat there. You could see that he was always going to be a genuine contender in that pack of 8 that became 6, that became 4 and then 3, and he's the man surviving.
Well, they always say that about the marathon, don't they? It's the war of attrition, and it really is. You've got to be the strongest man. Perhaps not the fastest man in a marathon, but you've got to be the strongest. There's no doubt about that. And he was. He showed that strength up that hill, that incline. And the others, I think, just as they that thread broke and he went away, they gave up, and he was away, clear, in a matter of minutes.
And I think our second fastest time ever is just under 2:15. He's going to be in that sort of range, so that's a good incentive for him. And our course record from last year was high 2:11, so we're seeing that time hasn't come up yet. So this is a really very impressive run. Whilst we say they've been off the pace, it's still a very, very fast pace. Will be the second fastest time ever on this course.
You can see part of the 16,000 involved in the bridge run. I wonder if one of them will just glance to the left and look down and think, oh, there you go, there's our winner. He's right there, and then. So they've still got a lot to do to finish at the Conservatorium of Music. But for Willie Koitale, he's now rounding the bend and heading onto the promenade that will lead him to the Sydney Opera House.
And that's one of the great fascinations of recreational running, or this event. You can do it with the best in the world, and what other sport you can be out there mixing it, using the same finish line that these athletes use. That's one of the great things about distance races.
Looking good though, and now the crowds are starting to build up. He's looking around all the time. I don't know why, because there's no one anywhere near him really. Kanoush, I think, is some way back now, just settling in second place.
I think he's just checking to make sure. He's probably thinking, I've got this one, and then he just checks himself and says, gee, I better just check again. Don't get too smart just yet.
Check again. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't want to be featuring in one of those YouTube moments where he raises the hands only to be beaten by someone at the post. But I think Willie Koitale is pretty safe out in front. The crowd manning the barriers, giving him plenty of cheers as he makes his way through. A terrific effort. He's run 2:12 so far. So what are we looking at? Just inside that 2:15 by the time he gets around?
Yeah, I think, maybe still got this straight. It's a longish straight run in here, so probably a minute and a half. I'd like to think he's going to run under 2:14, but I'm not going to predict it, but I reckon he'll be very close to that.
Now, if you're running in the half marathon, you might try and time your finish to the run to maybe try and keep up with him. But look at the pace he's still going at. The pace is incredible.
Yeah, he's deceptive. All great runners are deceptive, aren't they? And it is one of those. I mean, you think he's relaxed, you think he's just sort of drifting along, but he's really running at a great pace here.
He's got over 400 metres to go, so he's not going to be under 2:14. He'll be about 2:14.20, but he can enjoy the moment now, I think. He's trained very hard for this. Why wouldn't you be able to enjoy now the spoils of your labour? Great victory.
A wonderful victory for Willie Koitale as he makes his final turn and comes across to accept the ribbon. And a marvellous effort from our number 2. As he turns around, the crowd still giving him plenty of cheer. You can see the shells of the Sydney Opera House. That's where he's made his way here. He will be inside 2:14. Congratulations, Willie Koitale, our winner of the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival Marathon. And he did it inside the 2:14. A great effort. He broke the hearts with 6 or 7 Ks to go of the 4 or 5 runners who were with him, and then opened up a handy lead. So Willie Koitale, our winner, $10,000 richer of the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival Marathon. Just taking a few breaths there, and he high-fives with lead troop. Our second place man, he's run very well against the Africans, Al Hussein Ben Kanoush, and he makes his way across, the 32-year-old from France, just outside the 2:14. 2:14.26 for him, and he stops the watch as well and says, that's about it for me. I might just have a little lie down and kiss the ground here in front of the Sydney Opera House as well. Well done to Al Hussein Ben Kanoush from France.
It's a great run from him to split the Africans up, I think.
Yes.
I don't think he came into this race thinking he was going to get second, so it's a good performance from him, no doubt about that.
Yeah, he'd be sort of wanting to win, but I think he'll sleep pretty well tonight. And I think Koitale, pre-race favourite, so it's panned out well. I think he was probably the strongest, and he was always prominent in the race, so a good result.
He's exhausted. Look at him. There's not much left in the tank there, is it?
I think that
Ben
might
Kanoush
be
feeling it.
In the medical tent, I'm sensing from that one. Yep, they'll get the wheelchair and he'll go straight into the medical tent and probably be on the saline drip to get that rehydration happening very quickly.
Given his all, done the best he can possibly do.
Yeah, you cannot complain. When you're in the wheelchair, that's where you know you've given your all today.
Coming in third, the man that was written off by Steve Monaghetti, His name is Lucky Mahali. He is from South Africa, and he's not far away from rounding out the podium of the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival Marathon.
And that's a really good result for him. As I say, I thought I was riding him off pretty early, so that's a great result for Lucky.
Yeah, slightly different running style to the man who's just finishing the half marathon as well. But Lucky Mahali from South Africa, a 28-year-old, is coming through for third place. And congratulations to Lucky Mahali. He's been the man that's running the cap all the way through and held on and held on and held on, despite Steve Monaghan riding him off.
And great to see. We had a and a South African, so all countries represented on our dais.
And Julius Correa is the man, is in fourth, and our half marathon finisher is going to time his run absolutely beautifully just to get across the finish line at the same time.
That'd be a great photograph, wouldn't it, when he takes it home, you know, in front of the Kenyans in the marathon.
Here's the Kenyan I beat in the marathon.
Yes, just out kicking a Kenyan. That's right.
But for the man in the blue, he's got to do another lap of his half marathon, and then he might be on some sort of even footing. So congratulations, there is our top four, and it is Willie Koitele, who was number one, followed home by the Frenchman in Alassane Ben Kanouche. Then in third spot, it was Lucky Mahali from South Africa, and then coming home in fourth, the 31-year-old from Kenya, that is Julius Correa. So that's the way it rounds out for the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival Marathon. Beautiful vista of Sydney, and you can see the little coves, the wonderful real estate, the beautiful houses that line Sydney Harbour, and then we make our way right back around towards the CBD. So there's some high-priced real estate that maybe the Ovett family or the Monaghan family are a bit more interested in buying.
Oh, happy with my real estate in Ballarat down there, but the greenery, I'm amazed. That aerial shot shows what a beautiful city, such great greenery, parklands spread amongst the harbour. One of the world's great, most livable cities, no doubt about that. And most livable because you can get out and you can do activities like running the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival today.
And you can see the craft on the harbour as well. To have a waterway like this right literally at your front door, to be able to say, yep, I'm running a car, I do that Monday to Friday, but on the weekend I get out on the boat and I get under the harbour bridge, and you can see the bridge runners still making their way across. It's that 9-kilometre affair to the Conservatorium of Music, so thousands and 16,000 in total of bridge runners competing in that 9K run.
And many international visitors not only coming out maybe to participate today, but to be able to enjoy what is a beautiful city. We were talking, walking over this morning, Taronga Zoo, so close on the other side of the harbour, the Manly ferries coming through, and just so many options here in Sydney.
Well, the other thing is that the international visitors, you've got their families that come across with them as well and enjoy the city, because they're not competing, so they've got to enjoy something, and it's got a fantastic opportunities for the visitors to come and just enjoy other things.
Exactly, as a part of the event. Yes, not only an event for everybody, but plenty to do when you're supporting your partner who may be competing today.
It is iconic, that image of the shells, 40 years, and when it was built 40 years ago, it was like something from another world.
Yeah, well, Oslo's actually just built another opera house in their sort of harbour, and that's significant too. It seems to be the thing now to build opera houses right on the waterfront. So, but this was built 40 years ago, which I think makes this absolutely amazing.
And inside, many famous performers, and the acoustics in there is incredible. So not only is it a beautiful building from the outside, it's very functional inside.
And you can see down to the left of the Opera House, the long white tent, that's a lot of the medical and support tents in there. The finish line is just at the bottom of the screen now, so if you're watching the runners come across, that's where they're coming across. So as Monas and Steve Ovett said earlier, they are running towards the Opera House, and they can see that shell creation in front of them, and that would no doubt spur them on to get across that finish line.
And the start line just across the other side of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So while some events might have come directly across, a few others have had a scenic tour around the city before they finished their journey.
They've certainly done that. And you can see runners still starting to come in there from the family fun run.